Broadcasting live from Summerlin as always, and I'm in here with my brother, man, Raheem Palmer from The Ringer. What's good, Raheem? How are you today?
Man, life is good, man. We got a lot of sports coming up. We got the playoffs get ready to come up in a couple of weeks. So it's just an exciting time. You know, I mean, we got college football playoffs this weekend. We got big NFL games. We got Saturday games. So it's a great time. We got the holidays coming up. So life is good.
Yeah, life is definitely good, man. I appreciate everyone that's out here rocking with us today. Sheen, where you been, man? I was trying to reach out to you. I know you've been trying to get in the group forever. You said you tried to DM me. I tried to add you on X, brother. Make sure that you leave your X tag before we get off the show, man, so I can get at you. I definitely have a spot for you in the private group. I like how you do things. What's up, my brother? This is my dog right here, P, man. He's been a member of the private group for a long time, man. Love rocking with my boy. He's out there in Florida getting to it. DS Griff, always in the building, man. I'm glad you caught a little background of me and my homie chopping it up. We're talking about real life and how things go. Shout out. What's up, Steve, man? Happy holidays to you as well, man. Hey, it's okay. It's going to be plenty more winners. He's talking about the 12 days of Christmas that I have going right now. Now we're 2-1 as we cashed this morning with Kennesaw State. Last night we had an easy cash also with Arkansas State. Well, they started out pretty fast, but ended up where they slowed down and allowed Missouri State to get back in the game some, but we ended up holding on and getting that one. But Kennesaw State was just a walk in the park. They score on the first play, and I also gave out as a bonus the running back to score at -125. He breaks it for a touchdown on the very first play of the game. So everything went really smooth. Glad that everyone was able to cash with us on the 12 plays, the 12 days of Christmas program that I do every year, man, for my followers and for my listeners, so they could just have an opportunity to get some free plays, man, make some free money for the holidays, man. That's what it's all about. Did I say Kennesaw, Nicholas? I'm sorry, man. Somebody text me while I was speaking about it. Western Michigan, we win easy with. You got to play, Nick. I know you did. I know you always rocking with me, man. Shout out to my boy Nick out of Mo City. Shout out Just Jay. Salute, brother. I'm glad to hear you got one of my favorite directors as your PFP, Spike Lee. One day I hope to be as successful as he is in the movie game, man. All right, guys. Let's get to the program now. Let's get to the past real fast. Talk about what we saw last night on Thursday night. Football. Unbelievable game, Raheem. I tweeted it, and I really believe this to my heart, man. This is the best Thursday. That was the best Thursday night football game since they started playing on Thursdays. What do you think about that game last night?
Oh, that game was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And look, I kind of get ahead of myself because I tweet during the game, and I tweet my reactions. And right. Sometimes you're talking shit about a player, and then they come back and prove you wrong. And to me, when I'm watching Sam Darnold, to me, it's like you grew up in the hood. You know when somebody is scared.
Right.
And all of those big moments, I felt like Sam Darnold was scared. And you saw him throw the 2 interceptions, and it looked like that game was over. 30-14. The Rams got the ball, and then all of a sudden the Seahawks defense puts the clamps on them. And it puts the Seahawks offense in a position to where Sam Darnold has a chance to totally redeem himself. And he totally did. So I got to give props to Sam Darnold. I know I called him a pussy on Twitter. He went out there and did it.
Yeah, he did, man. Sam Darnold with a good late showing. But the thing for me was this, man. Sam Darnold is a guy with all the talent in the world. I've been watching him all the way since USC, Raheem. I've always been high on him. Ends up getting drafted in a terrible position, man, with him having to go and play with the New York Jets, who we already know how the Jets are, man. The Jets, rarely are you going to have any success as a New York Jets quarterback. It's just simply how it is. They're one of those organizations that just doesn't develop the quarterback well. Who you want to say? Chad Pennington, maybe Vinny Testaverde, like they're not known for quarterbacks. So he kind of started behind the 8 ball, but he showed all the talent in the USC. He got a second reprieve last night. The biggest play of that game was my guy Shaheed that came over from the Saints, returning that punt for a touchdown. That's what sparked everything. It was 9 minutes left. I'm sick, Raheem, because we had an undefeated night in the group. We've won every play that we took, college basketball, college football. And the biggest bet that I had, just like you just, Jay, he said he had the 1K on the Seahawks. Hey, he knows the show. We talk about the reverse jinx all the time, and that's what you kind of gave us, Raheem, by talking down on Sam. I agree with everything you were saying, but it ends up where if the game's not finished, sometimes it works for us if you're on the right side, you know, and it worked for us because Sam Darnold gets a second chance and Shaheed puts him in position to fight. They were down 16 points, 9 minutes left. Looks like a wrap. And boy, that was a hell of a script the script writers wrote last night when they did that 2-point conversion and it went backwards and it just rolls and they blow the whistle and blow the play dead.
Here's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So I was on the Rams, right? So pregame, the line went to 2. And I unloaded on the Rams at +2. And my model actually had Seattle -1. And normally I want a little bit of a bigger threshold before I make a play. But I just said to myself, you know what? I don't like how Sam Darnold has performed against the Rams. Like, let me just take the Rams. So I bet the Rams at +2. And then during the game, when the Rams went down 7, they were like +200, +240. So I loaded the clip on the Rams at +240. And the benefit, you know, of live betting is that you don't actually have to win a bet in order to cash out on it. So when they were up 16 points, I cashed out because I got 98, 99% of my – basically, they're up 16 points. They throw an interception. I cash out there. I've got all of my money minus maybe $200.
Right.
And I had about $4,000 or $5,000 just on the money line. Right. And then I kept my +2. So I was good. Like, I'm not complaining at all. You know, like I got out of my position. Even if
veteran move.
Yeah. even if I didn't cash out, I still could have hedged on Seattle because Seattle was like +2,000. So I was good. I profited on that game. And then I hit my +2 with, you know, Seattle going for 2 and winning by 1.
Great job on your half. There we go. Touchdown, NC State. I got a big bag on the Wolfpack. Remember, I was telling you as we was going on, probably some guys caught us talking about it going on because I didn't know we had went live already. Something that happened on my X. I guess Elon was messing with me because I didn't give him his $11 this month. I was thinking about boycotting him. So
what was the spread on that NC State game?
It was 3.5 even money for the game. I took the first half -2.5. You know me, I'm a first half better. So they get up early. I just don't see how Memphis is able to do anything for this game. The coach is already headed to Arkansas. He took some of the staff with him. Just not a lot of juice in that locker room. And I'm not a big fan of their quarterback either. I've watched him all the way since Nevada. So, and I am a big fan of NC State's quarterback. I think he's going to end up transferring 6'6", guy kind of like a poor man's Vince Young, man. He can really run and he can throw the ball, really accurate kid. But he didn't make any promises to the coaching staff today, Warren and those guys if he was coming back next year. But back to the game with Seattle on Thursday night in LA, just the game, really strange game. I wonder now, how does this affect the Rams? Does it motivate them and make them get the best of themselves in the playoffs? Because we know that right now they were playing the best football in probably the whole NFL, and then this happens, you know, or does this make them kind of fall back? Because now it's tough going up there to the 12th man and winning, and Seattle won't wear those weirdo uniforms. I'm sure they'll have their basic real uniforms on next time. I'm a big uniform guy.
It's crazy. I like them uniforms. I thought them Jones was hard.
But you ain't gonna win, and you're not gonna win in the playoffs with that type of mess on. They're gonna
be wearing the regular. They're gonna be wearing.
They got on those traditionals. But as far as in the game, but we were talking about as far as in with what you did, we call that on this show the oatmeal beats and oatmeal. We're gonna always, if they give you over 90%, come on, you gotta cash that because anything can happen. We know that, like anything can happen on these games. I was just ticked on the Western Michigan game, I had the quarterback to throw a touchdown at -137, the running back to score a touchdown -125, -3.5. Caesars is so dirty, they wouldn't even put up an offer for me to cash out. I was going to win $5,000. That's what I ended up getting, but I had to wait through the entire game, and they were up like 41-0 in the third quarter. I'm checking for a cash out just to go on and get my money out to get finished, because that's what it's all about, guys, is making a profit. If you guys are rocking with the wagering world, rocking with my guy Raheem Palmer, you guys hit that like button right now. We appreciate you for being here. It's always us versus the machine. You guys make sure to check out my boy Raheem Palmer on the Ringer Gambling Podcast. All right, man, let's go on and get into the meat of things. It's a big day, a big weekend, overall, Raheem, but a big day as well. With tonight, we kick off the college football playoffs, a rematch of two SEC teams. Sounds so weird calling Oklahoma an SEC team, but they are. They're a Big 12, Big 8 team. I'm a Louisiana, Texas boy, so I grew up around SEC football, Big 12 football, and I was always used to Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, those Big 12, Big 8 country, and you get to the southeast side of things, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi with the Southeastern Conference, but the SEC says they want to make that money. Big Ten wants to make that money. They make these super conferences that spread across the country now. Alabama going in with a poor performance against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Ty Simpson shrinks. He's one of those guys who I kind of laughed at when he was playing good earlier, and they were saying he should be the #1 pick. Guys, let's be for real. This is the same situation we've seen a million times before with Alabama quarterbacks when they got an offensive line that doesn't get them touched, great wide receivers, great running backs. You're supposed to be successful. So pump the brakes on saying Ty Simpson is, the best player in college football. I like to see how guys can handle things when everything isn't going right and they don't have an advantage at every position. But he's came back to earth a little bit, playing against really good defenses in the SEC. As the year went by and people got more tape on him, as you know, it's his first year starting at the quarterback position. I think he's a good quarterback, and he'll be even better next year when he obviously is coming back. Next is going to be a good year because there's a lot of quarterbacks coming back with a lot of starts. So it's going to be a much more seasoned quarterback group coming out in 2027. But they're traveling to Oklahoma, man, and Brett Venables does the best job probably in college football with designing defense, Raheem. This guy, he could have easily been an NFL coordinator. I have no doubt that OU runs the most exotic packages of any college football team in the country. At Clemson, he did the same thing. Very responsible for a lot of Dabo Swinney's early success that he had was because Brett Venables had that defense flying around the field and making plays. He's going to turn over the offense, and he's going to sack the quarterback. I don't care where he goes. That's what he does. Struggling a little bit on offense now. My guy who came over there to be the quarterback, Mateer, Washington State guy. We were high on him on the show when I did my quarterbacks to fade, quarterbacks to bet. He was one of my guys I wanted to bet because I love his talent, splash player, a little undersized, but now that he's broken his hand, he has not been the same passer. His passing percentage has plummeted. Their passing offense overall has fallen off, but they've had a lot of time now to, twerk some things, get some things together, maybe get that passing game back going. He has the weapons over there. Who do you like in this game, Raheem? I know you're mostly a pro guy, but I know when it comes to this time of the year with college football, the playoffs, you dig in a little bit deeper.
Ooh, this is tough for me because if you look at the spread, Oklahoma opened at a pick 'em, and it seems like the whole world is on Oklahoma. And if you look at Oklahoma, they haven't forced many turnovers this year. They only forced 13 turnovers, top for 94th in out of all teams. So if you go back to that first game against Alabama, Oklahoma forced 2 fumbles and an interception in the first meeting, and they won 23-21. So it almost feels like that's kind of fluky based on what Oklahoma has done this entire season. It is obviously a small sample size, and we know turnovers aren't really predictive. I would kind of lean with Alabama here. And I don't have anything personally on this game, so I don't want this to be like seen as an official play, but if I had to go with a side, I would kind of go with Alabama just because I'm looking at the market. Like if you look at this market, right, and you guys know that I do work with the Ringer and we have a partnership with FanDuel. And this is not to disparage any sports books here, but FanDuel, like books like FanDuel and DraftKings and BetMGM, they're not necessarily taking sharp action. But if you look at some of the sharper books like Circa or Pinnacle, at FanDuel, the line is Oklahoma -1.5. Yeah. At DraftKings, the line is Oklahoma -1.5. But at the sharper books, the line is 1. So that's telling me that at the sharper books, they're getting some resistance in the market, and there's some sharp money on Alabama. So along with how that first game played out, and then how they're booking this action, I would lean towards Alabama. But right now, I don't have any money on this game.
And you're probably right on that by not betting it. I spoke about that this morning. I was on the radio. I was back on my old gig, ESPN 97.5 with my guys from the bench. Shout out to Lance Zerline of the NFL Network. Shout out my guy John Granada, 2 Texas Radio Hall of Famers, 2 of the best doing it in Houston. I told them I'll come back and do the playoffs, man, and I'm going to be on there at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. The rest of the playoffs for college football and the NFL, man, I missed those guys. It was good to be back this morning. But we were kind of talking about this game, and I was telling them this game as well as the next game, I'm going to talk about Miami and A&M. If you don't have a clear advantage, you see, as we see with the books having this game so tight, right? Why not wait? See what's going on. Jump in live, guys. The problem with live betting is if you see something pregame and you lay a bet and you're jumping in live over and over, now you can kind of hurt your profit. But if you just wait your spot, be patient, watch the game when you have these close lines, you can get an advantage. It's going to be either you might see a team didn't come to play or one of the teams get ahead early, and you already know from the number that it should be a close game down the stretch, and you can catch a 7 or 10 or something like that, right? So I'd say just be patient, guys. You don't have to bet everything that comes up on the menu. That's like on the show, we talk about the big games. When we're talking about what we're playing, that's in the ball and parlay. So right now we're just breaking down this game. I do have a play on this game, Raheem, that me and the group played. Hopefully you guys don't go bet $10 million on it and change everything on it. But I took Alabama for the first half money line with the group. We took it pretty heavy too yesterday at -105. And my reasoning behind it, Raheem, is okay. Caleb DeBoer was undefeated. He was 8-0 against the top 3 coaches in college football, which I consider the top 3: Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, and who was Steve Sarkisian, right?
Yeah.
Gets his first loss last week, and they don't look good at all against Georgia. Ryan Williams with another no-show. Main thing that was the problem, in my opinion, Jam Miller, and he's back this week. And Jam Miller is more than just a good running back for them who churns out yards. He's also a guy who's really good at pass protect. So they got him back. Also, Ty Simpson, when he's in trouble, he can dump it to him. I think with the fact that Alabama was embarrassed last week, the offense looked really mediocre, and Caleb DeBoer he's a teacher. He's one of those guys like Bill Walsh. He's not going to do a bunch of screaming and yelling. He's going to go to the whiteboard and correct things. I think that they're going to start early, and I think that with Oklahoma, they're a scrappy team. Not a lot of offensive power. Mateer was the offense, but since his hand's been broke, man, unless he had, like I said, during his time away, maybe got a chance to put in some new things. They have an offensive coordinator who's known for being a guy who can put up points at every stop he's been at, but their offense just has been stagnated. And Alabama's defense isn't respected like it should be. It's a really good defense, and I know that they're going to be really hyped with the fact that Oklahoma's known for their defense. So I think that Alabama will have the lead at halftime, but I'm not going to bet it the whole game because as we see from all of this public money flowing and how things are going, I would not be surprised at all if Oklahoma comes back and wins late. They've been doing that all year, staying around, stealing games in the fourth quarter. And Mateer's the type of quarterback that can do that. He'll if they keep the game close in the fourth quarter, he'll make a scramble or something, or do a second reaction play and find somebody wide open down the middle of the field because they come up the safeties thinking he's going to run. So I'm not going to mess with the full game. But for the first half, just off of motivation coming off of being embarrassed to Georgia, the kind of coach that Caleb DeBoer is, the kind of offense, the offensive advantage, I'd say out of all of the units in this game, I'm going to say Alabama's offensive unit is 1A, Oklahoma's defense is 1B. Far down the list, in my opinion, is Oklahoma's offense. So with that said, I think that the tie can get just enough, in the first half. So give me Alabama first half on this one. Let me see if we got any comments. My guy Just Jay says he's on Alabama. He said he trusts Ty Simpson over Mateer. And let's see what else we got from some of my viewers. Let's see what they have to say. He says Oklahoma caught Bama in a good spot. Bama's coming off a 6-game stretch where they played Vandy, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. That's why I love my channel. Bunch of sharp guys who bet as well. So a lot of good information on that. My official play will be Alabama first half money line. Raheem says it's a wait and see for him. We'll jump in live. All right, let's get to the next one. Big game tomorrow morning. I don't know why they didn't make this the night game. This should have been the primetime game. Instead, they're going to Eugene, Oregon, and James Madison is probably going to get slaughtered. But we'll go with probably the best game of the weekend. These are the best 2 weekend games of the weekend in college football, in my opinion, outside the FCS. You guys don't follow FCS, Montana State and Montana. That's going to be a great one too. But we got Miami, Florida going down to Texas A&M. A&M laying 3 and a hook. It's a lot of points to be given up in such a, on paper, it looks like a close game. What do you think about this one, Raheem?
Yeah, I think I lean towards Texas A&M. I just think this is probably the toughest test that Miami has played all year long. Obviously, you have a team in Texas A&M who can rush the quarterback. Very good defense. I don't know. I think this line is short, but obviously for me, I am not the biggest college football bettor. So I really want to hear your take on this.
It's a great advantage about Kyle Field. So Kyle Field is probably it's one of the higher home field advantages that's probably factored in by the bookmakers, or in this case now the AI. So I'd probably say it's worth 3. That's probably the max that they give for home field advantage. With the hook, they're saying to me that they think A&M is a superior team as well. I kind of agree with that. I spoke about that this morning as well. I said, if you're going to say that they're close, I got to take the points. But if I look at the game, I like Coach Elko so much more in this situation than Mario Cristobal. Like, Miami's coach does a great job of recruiting. He's an ex-offensive lineman, does a good job with the line stepping in. But when it comes to schematics and being able to manage the clock and things like that, I trust Mike Elko way more than I trust Cristobal. Now let's see whose defensive line comes to play, because that's going to determine this game. It's going to be determined in trenches. Both of these teams have A1 defensive linemen. Reuben Banks might be the number 1 pick for Miami. He's an awesome player, kind of old school defensive lineman like he used to be, where he's like a D tackle / DN, JJ Watt type that can play, inside and outside and has the speed still to get outside. And then you look on the side of A&M, they always have the best defensive line money can buy. They're going to always have some studs over there. And I just want to see which quarterback deals. Well, first, I guess who's going to be best blocking, which offensive line provides the best protection for the quarterbacks, and then who can make the plays. The good thing about Marcel Reed is he's a second reactionary player. He'd rather get a running lane and get a chance to scramble and see the field clear because it's a little bit shorter guy, but he's an electric kid, very smart, man. He scrambles with purpose, like Russell Wilson used to when he was young. That's what I do like about Marcel Reed. He's not scrambling to run. If he can, he will. But, much like Bryce Young, he's scrambling to look to try to make a play down the field. Coach's son, so I like everything about Marcel Reed. On the other side of the field, we got America's All-American. He was the guy at Georgia, and, him and Kirby fell out because he got the private plane deal and he moved to Miami. to be with his girlfriend, and ended up where that didn't work out, but it worked out for the Miami football team because it made him refocus and made Carson Beck get back about football and less about social media. And he's played his ass off this year. We already knew he could throw it. One of the best freshmen in the country over there in that wide receiver, Tony. I want to see Ken the Kadarius, Tony. They are awesome Florida kids. He probably is, but Tony's the best freshman at wide receiver we've seen in Miami probably since Michael Irvin, man. He's really good. Going to be a slot guy in the league. Not that tall, but he doesn't drop anything, man, really quick. A real playmaker. They also have C.J. Daniels, who came over from LSU. He originally was at, where was he at? Liberty. Came to LSU. I was thinking big things for him, Raheem, and he ended up not panning out at LSU, but he's done a hell of a job in Miami. Just a good game overall. I'm like you, man. I'd probably lean A&M money line if I, was forced to make a play. But I think on this one, what I'll be doing is it's a wait and see. Let's see whose line is dominating, because we're going to be able to see early who's winning in the trenches. It's just talent all over the field in this game, man. You got Casey Concepcion. We're speaking of NC State. He came from over there and was unstoppable in the ACC, and he's very familiar with Miami, and now he's the star receiver for A&M. Craven on the other side. Just a lot of talent, man, all over the field. This is going to have all the NFL scouts there. I think it's more NFL talent in this Miami and A&M game actually than the Oklahoma and Alabama game, man. So I'm excited to watch this one. No clear opinion on it. It's a wait and see, guys. But honestly, we want to teach you on here, if anything, is discipline. When you're betting sports, man, it's always something on the board to bet. Shout out my homie Webb, who taught me that, man. It's always something on the board to bet every day. We bet to win. We don't bet just to bet on the wagering world, or if you're going to be a pro like Raheem and myself, we're looking for spots, man. It might be it was a famous. Did you watch Boardwalk Empire at all?
I love Boardwalk Empire. That was my shit.
Right. So they had the famous bettor on there who threw the famous Jewish brother Rothstein, who threw he set up the World Series and made the
1929 World Series. Yeah, it was fixed.
He fixed it. So he's on there, and one of my favorite sayings that he says on there is he says that he looks for advantages, and he says sometimes I might bet one bet, sometimes I might go days without betting at all, and some days I might bet 80 bets. But it's because if you're a professional like us, you're looking for spots, and it's not. If it's not clear advantage, what's the point? We're betting to win, man. So this would be a good game to watch as a fan. If you see an opportunity live, let's jump into it.
I think somebody said to me, and I always stick by this.
Okay.
The odds makers and the bookmakers have to put up a line for every game. We don't have to do that. Right. We could just look for, one or two games, whereas like they literally have to put up a line for every single game. Like right now, I'm, as we're recording this, it's 3 EuroLeague games on. Right. I keep my eye on all of them. It's 3 EuroLeague games on. I mean, it's Germany games. It's games in, college basketball. It's games in college football. There's so many different games on, and they got a line every single one of these. So I'm just going to sit there and wait for my spot. And as soon as I find it, I'm a bet. And it doesn't matter what the sport is. Like, you bet on tennis, and you crush tennis. So it's just like, and I mean, it's not even, the crazy thing is some of the tournaments that you bet on aren't even the major tournaments. It's a small little tournament to where you found an edge. And I mean, that's what it's about.
That's why you bet EuroLeague, you bet Australian League basketball, and I'm one of the few guys who can actually talk a little bit of that with you, is because we're kind of from the same cloth. And if you're trying to win and you're doing this every day, you understand that this is a stock market. You're looking for prices, man. That's all. You're looking for errors by the book. You're looking for the best price. You're looking for advantages. That's why I'd say that most guys who bet as much as Raheem and myself, they have a niche market. His is EuroLeague basketball, Australian League basketball. Mine is tennis. Some guys that I know, it's soccer, because there's so many matches going. The books aren't paying attention in Vegas to the EuroLeague games. I look online all the time because I bet a little EuroLeague. The lines are completely different, right? Offshore and the ones in Vegas, right, Raheem?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. Like some of these lines are just absolutely insane. And the one thing about EuroLeague is that the disparity between some of these teams is just so glaring. So when you get an edge, like especially in the live markets, like you'll see teams, like they'll just be playing around in the first half, and in the second half you'll see a 30 to 2 run or some stupid something like that. So it's just like looking for those advantages and just finding your niche. And I think that's one of the things that we tend to do well.
Yeah, my boy Cal, who's always in the show. Shout out, Cal. Good to have you back in here. He says NHL for him. That's where he finds his sweet spot. Guys, search for the money. Go find it. We got a big menu to look at. Don't go in the book and get caught up with the lights. People walk in and see all the lights and get to do it. They just want to start betting. No, man. You want to find your advantage and take advantage of it, man, because it's always us versus the machine. Let's get to the NFL slate. It actually kicks off on Saturday. Got an early game with your not your Eagles, but your hometown Eagles, because you're a Cowboys fan. But we're not going to even talk about that. That's not even worth talking about. Let's talk about the big game that's going to decide maybe the NFC North. We got the Packers at the Bears. Bears are laying 1.5. The over and under is 46.5. Two of the best young coaches in the NFL face off is you got Ben Johnson against Matt LaFleur, two completely different personalities, but two of the best offensive minds that you'll find. I'm really impressed with Ben Johnson. I already was a fan of him at Detroit. Rocky start, but he showed exactly who he is, who I thought he was when he was with Detroit. And that's by being able to tailor any good offensive coordinator, for instance, like Ryan Day. It didn't matter if he had a dual threat quarterback, if he had a option quarterback, it didn't matter if he has a passing quarterback. We've seen him coach all three styles when he was the offensive coordinator and later the head coach for Ohio State. It didn't matter. The offense was going to be effective. And that's what I like about Ben Johnson. He's leaned into the run game, some of the best run designs you're going to see. Made DeAndre Swift, who is a Philadelphia guy like yourself, back into who we thought he was coming out of Georgia. Detroit moved off of him, and I guess they upgraded, but DeAndre Swift is looking like still a top 10 running back in the league under Ben Johnson coaching them. And then they also got the kid that came in from Rutgers as a good running back too. The great thing that he's done with Caleb, I always said that I worried about Caleb coming in. I was like one of the first people who said he was going to Chicago. I got intel because I have a friend of mine who's really close to his dad. I kind of know the family. His dad and him are nothing alike. Caleb's dad is a G. I always talk about he's a tough dude. So Caleb's dad had already put out word through my guy that he was going to Chicago. I worried because I was like, damn, he need to go to Washington. Washington develops quarterbacks over the years. Chicago hasn't ever had a good quarterback. Even when they won the Super Bowl with Jim McMahon, they sucked. They developed linebackers really good. They developed running backs. They do a terrible job, and we all know these are all the same families who started these teams in the 30s from booking. They all sports, bookies. All of these guys are sports bookies. So the Bears, the McCaskey family has not done a good job with being able to, make quarterbacks play well, but now they had the right coach, right quarterback, and they're trying to break that curse. As we see, Caleb Williams is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, even though he's only in his second year. The thing that I like about him is he protects the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he gives you splash plays every game, and he did that at USC. He's going to make a play where you say, wow, really fast, really strong, really confident. As I said, I worried a little bit about him going to Chicago simply for the fact that he's not a pocket guy, and Ben Johnson is making him better at that. He has a howitzer. He could throw the ball a country mile, but he just isn't a progression guy. He gets hasty, wants to use his legs, wants to show off those feet, and I was worried about that transition for him to the NFL and with him going to Chicago to a team that didn't develop quarterbacks well. But after they move off Eberflus, they get in the right guy, and now we're seeing everything that the people who were high on Caleb Williams coming out of USC, everything that we expected. On the other side of the ball, Jordan Love, underachieving year for me, but I don't really blame Jordan. Jordan Love's receivers have the dropsies. I don't know why. I've talked about it before. Why the hell won't Green Bay just go spend some money on the receiver? I don't know if the Eagles will do the trade with him now since they're in the same division, try to get A.J. Brown. But, hell, the Cowboys traded with him. Maybe they do. But they need a wide receiver one for Jordan Love bad, and it would make Jaden Reed so good because Jaden Reed is a great wide receiver too, good slot guy. Then they could just use Christian Watson for what he should be used for, just a deep threat guy. Put him in every blue moon and put him in the slot and run him at the safety. Because you can't trust his hands, man. He cannot gauge the ball. I know he never played baseball because he's horrible at tracking the football, man. Christian Watson sucks at tracking the football. And we're going to see what Matthew Golden becomes. I wasn't too high on him because I watched him a lot at Houston and at Texas. He's a guy who drops a lot of passes as well. And then big head ass Dobbs, he's overrated. He's not catching anything either. So I'm high. I think they should keep Jaden Reed. Of course, they need to keep their great tight end Tucker Kraft, who was great at South Dakota State. He's a perfect Packer, player. And then add a wide receiver one, and I think they would jump because you remember they made it to the NFC Championship game with Devontae Adams. I thought they were going to try to bring him back, but I guess they, weren't high on bringing him back. But I just don't like the fact that Jordan Love is a really talented player, man, and just don't have anyone he could trust to throw the ball to. The defense takes a major L with them losing Michael Parsons, so we don't know if they're going to be the same. Can they get a rush at all? Who do you like in this one, Raheem? This is a big, big game for the playoffs. Rankings going into, we're in December, going into January.
So I'm glad you asked me about this game because about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I gave out the Chicago Bears 9-1 to win the NFC North.
Okay.
And as you see right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, they are -110 favorite, odds-on favorite to win this division.
Nice.
Now, you go back to last week on our Thursday show. I gave out the Chicago Bears +3 in this very game. Now, obviously, I got a little lucky because in last week's game against the Denver Broncos, Michael Parsons, he tears his ACL. They also lose Christian Watson. They also lose Zach Tom on the offensive line. We already know they already had Elton Jenkins out for the season along with Tucker Kraft. So this is a banged up team. They also lost Devontae Wyatt to a season-ending ankle injury earlier in the year. So let's break down the defense. Michael Parsons, 12.5 sacks, 14 games for the Packers. He's led the league with 83 pressures and 34 quick pressures. Second in the NFL behind Denver's Nick Benito. Now, with Parsons in the lineup, the Packers allowed the 10th lowest QBR to opposing quarterbacks. And 109 dropbacks without him, they fell to 22nd in that same metric. And when they don't get home to the quarterback, they're 26 in ESPN's total QBR. So that's concerning. So what's going to end up happening is the strength of the Packers were they didn't have to blitz. They were able to constantly rush 4 guys and play a lot of man coverage. Well, now that's out the window. You already lost Devontae Wyatt. Now you lose Michael Parsons. So now you're going to have to blitz and play zone coverage. Well, if you look at the games in which teams blitz and play zone coverage, Caleb Williams is downright dominant. Let's go back to 2 games last year against the Packers. Caleb Williams, 44 of 60 passes, 379 yards, and a touchdown with a 95 passer rating. And that was pre-Ben Johnson. And we know pre-Ben Johnson, the offensive coordination was horrible. They couldn't protect the quarterback. Now you got Ben Johnson playing. And if you look at Caleb Williams versus zone this year, 174 of 266, 2,024 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Caleb Williams versus the blitz this year, 89 of 165, 1,232 yards, 12 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Nice. So this has big Caleb Williams day written all over it. I'm obviously not going to suggest this line is right now it's a Bears -1.5. You guys know I said I gave out the +3 last week on my show on the Ringer Gambling Show on FanDuel Sports Network. So I'm not going to give it out at a worse number at all. I think the Bears have the absolute nuts. I have the nuts with my plays, getting the 9-1 and getting the +3. So I can't give that out. If you have to play anything on this game, this is an over game for me. I think this is, 46.5. And the Packers are probably not going to be able to get home. And the one thing the Bears defense, they struggle with in that first matchup is they didn't get the Packers got a lot of explosive plays. Like, I mean, it just were absolutely like it was explosive plays all over the field. Now we don't know if Christian Watson is going to play, but we do know Jayden Reed is out there. I mean, you look at some of those explosive plays. Christian Watson had a 41-yard touchdown. Bo Melton had a 45-yard long touchdown. Jayden Reed had an 18 long receiving catch. So the explosive plays are still kind of available for this team. So I do think the 46.5 is short. But I mean, me personally, I'm already got the nuts with the +3. I already got the nuts with the 9-1. I'm just hoping the Bears could pull through because the Packers have dominated this matchup. 21 of the last 24 meetings. Packers are 69-45 against the spread in the division game since 2006. And Matt LaFleur has been dominant in the regular season, 62-47 against the spread in the regular season. I'm just hoping the Bears come through, but I would lean towards that over. If you kind of want to get frisky, you could probably put the Packers on the teaser leg. Tease through the key numbers of 6 and 7, and you might find yourself in a good spot.
Yeah, that sounds like the play, Raheem. Packers teased up to 7.5 with the over at 40.5. That's a good combination for a -120. Because if I play this game, I gotta play the Packers. I mean, how the hell could I not? The books are telling you. We just spoke about home field advantage. I think the Soldier Field is worth 3 points usually. So they're telling you, even with Micah Parsons out, and all the injuries, the Packers are the better team. Also, what I look for in this game is this. Matt LaFleur, 12-1 against the Bears. Matt LaFleur has never lost in December, guys. Never. That's kind of like last Monday night when I was an idiot and took the 3 points with Dolphins. The numbers that you just threw out, one of the ones that I missed with Tua was he's horrible against the zone. So that tells you he doesn't see the field well. Caleb's a smart guy. He's seeing the field well. He's dealing with the zone. But remember we was talking about it on the text. I was like, they said Tua has thrown 15 interceptions against zone defense, against Mike Tomlin. That's all he does is run zone. But Mike Tomlin was 22-0 going into that game on Monday Night Football at home. Now he's 23-0. You do not get in front of trains like that. Either you get on it or you just watch it pass by. So if I'm going to play this game, I'm going to trust Matt LaFleur and that he remains undefeated in December. He's never lost a game in December. I'm going to say that again. And he's 12-1 against the Bears. So I know it's a new regime in for the Bears. I know Ben Johnson brings a different type of confidence, but we also know the Chicago market. A lot of guys have been betting a long time there and got some long bank rolls. They're fans at heart, and they're going to get into their emotions, and they're all going to take the Bears on this game. So I'd probably play the Packers first half and probably for the game if I was forced with a gun to my head to make a decision. But it's another wait and see for me. Maybe we can get a good 7 on either side, and you're in a good spot because we've seen all of these games come down to the end between these two teams. But I'm just not fading Matt LaFleur in December. I think that he's going to run the hell out of Josh Jacobs and take the ball out of the Bears' hands and really slow down the game and control it with the offense with short intermediate passes and running Jacobs.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense to me. The interesting thing is that the Bears are first in turnovers, forcing turnovers and turnover differential. The Packers don't really turn the ball over that much. So if they don't turn the ball over, it kind of puts the Bears in a tough spot. So obviously I can't recommend the side at this point. I kind of broke down everything earlier, but I also want to see the status of Romeo Odunze too. Because that can kind of change things on the total too. I know I said this total is probably short, but if Romeo Odunze and Luther Burton are out, you could see a game where the Bears are just, we just gonna run the ball at will.
Right.
You saw the second half of that last game. It felt like the Bears had kind of worn down that defensive line. They were they were picking up chunk yardages in that second half. So this is an interesting one, but I got the best of it, so I'm just hoping it goes my way.
Yes, man, you'll get it. Shout out my boy LJ. I always rocking with the Rage World, my homie back in Houston, man. What's up, fellas? Let's cash. LJ is a really good sports bettor. You guys follow him on X. All right, let's get to another big division matchup, man. It's nothing but good games on the schedule this week. I'm happy for it too. Let's get to the Bucks at the Panthers, man. The Bucks Not looking too good, man. They were going through a really tough stretch. They can't block for Baker, and Baker looks like his shoulders hurt. Look like he's beat up pretty bad. He's always been an undersized guy, facing another undersized guy, kind of similar players with Bryce Young on the other side. It's just like no one wants to win this division. The Saints took off a little bit later. Maybe if Tyler Shuff would have started from the beginning of the year, and maybe they would have been in the running too, because it seems that this is going to be one of those years where it's like literally a under 500 team might win the division. I know that you're heavy on Carolina. You need this game pretty bad for your future. Break down to the people again of when you took Carolina, what you got pending on them right now, and also you can break down the game. I'll come in after you.
So this is another future that I played. One that people they call me everything but a child of God when I mention it. But I gave out the Carolina Panthers, and I believe this was on. Let me get the exact date I gave this out. But I gave the Carolina Panthers 18-1 to win the division. And my logic was that if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had been kind of just pulling out. Actually, this was on October 13th. I gave this out. And my logic was that if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the way they've been playing football, they were basically pulling a rabbit out of a hat every single game to start the season. You go back to that game against the Falcons, the Texans, even the Jets, and the Seahawks game. It was just like they were just pulling a rabbit out of the hat. They won all of these one-score games, and ultimately that wasn't sustainable. And then they started getting injured. And you looked at their schedule coming up. They had the Lions. They had the Saints, the Patriots, the Bills, the Rams. I just knew that they would start taking some losses. And this Carolina Panthers team, they've been consistently inconsistent all year. I mean, you look at what they've done this year. They've beaten the best teams in the NFC. They beat the Packers. They beat the Rams. But then you lose to the Saints twice. You beat the Cowboys. So it's just like, it's kind of like Forrest Gump when he said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's how it feels watching this Carolina Panthers team. But I just felt like at 18-1, somebody would challenge the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this division, and you knew that they were going to have multiple divisional games against each other towards the end of the year. Now, it's unfortunate because you look at the Panthers, they lose that game to the Saints last week, a game where they mostly kind of controlled. And then they basically just decide not to kick the game-winning field goal. They go for it on 4th-1, get stops. Saints tie it up, and then next thing you know, they lose the game. So it'd have been nice to have that game in our pocket. But you look at this game right here, I think Tampa Bay is probably I'm struggling with it because you look at Tampa Bay, they haven't covered 6 straight games. The last time they've covered was in October against the Saints. October 26th. That's the last time they covered. At some point in time, we know this is a market. And in a market, things kind of, they eventually adjust. Like, they eventually get it right. Market is telling us that Tampa Bay is -3 here in this spot. And Carolina's been so inconsistent. I think the thing that's kind of like making me want to take Tampa Bay is that Mike Evans has returned. And since Mike Evans' return, you watch that game against the Falcons, they generated a lot of explosive plays. Like, that's the thing that was kind of lacking. But I still think Baker Mayfield's a little banged up. I'm a little unsure about this game. I think this is a spot where I may find myself just hedging off of my Carolina futures. I got 18-1. I may end up playing Tampa Bay just to kind of hedge some of it off. But as far as just an overall play for this game, I'm really struggling with it.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight one, man. This is another one we always talk about. You want to find advantages when you're betting. That's what makes the NFL the hardest market to bet in the world. And I don't see how guys who are pro bettors say that their number one market is the NFL. And when they tell me that, I'll be like, in my mind, I'm like, you're not a real bettor. Because it's the lowest return of investment percentage of all other sports. And it's just because these teams are so evenly matched and the books are so sharp with the numbers on the NFL. Like, the games are so evenly matched, man. I would lean on this one to a prop side. I would not be surprised if either wins the game because both of these teams are Jekyll and Hydes. Like, you don't know what you're going to get out of either side, honestly. Um, Someone just said Todd Bowles is coaching for his job. It seems like he's always coaching for his job. And you got Dave Canales in his first real opportunity to, kind of plant his flag is like Carolina. We're back to the team when Cam Newton was there and Ron Rivera and things like that. So they haven't been good since then. I will go with props on this one. You brought up my guy. Shout out my homie Mike Evans out of Galveston, went to Ball High School. We met several times, used to come by the shop. My homie had 713 Motoring. We had a company together that we used to do in Houston, and good dude. Also, my homeboy actually sold him his house. He's a realtor. He sold Mike his house in Houston that he lives in with his wife and his family. Mike is a big deal. And one thing about Mike is he demands the ball. Like, Baker's afraid of him. If you remember when they first started, Baker and him didn't even really speak to each other because, Mike came for Brady and, and like I have 1,000 yards every year. I'm the guy here. Who's this little twerp? And he ended up gaining respect for Baker Mayfield because Baker is a guy who fights to the end. And now they're close and now they're good friends. And now anytime Baker looks back, he knows 5-13 and throw it up. And with Mike Evans back, he's a Carolina Panthers killer. I want to say he scored 5 of the last 6 times that they played each other. He scored a touchdown. The only game he didn't score in was that 9-0 crazy game they had a couple years ago when it was just suck ass. I think both of them were out of contention. It just was a bad game. But in the other game, man, he's went over 100 yards and touchdowns, sometimes a couple touchdowns. I want to say he had, if I'm not mistaken, 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games against them. So give me at plus 160. Oh, man, I'm locking that in right now. I'm going to send it to the group, too. And I know you guys are going to beat it up. It'll probably be down to plus 120 by Sunday. Take him at plus 160 to get in the end zone. I definitely think Mike Evans scores a touchdown in this game. Look at the DBs for Carolina. They'll be able to figure out a way where they can get him on someone else outside of Horn because Horn is the only one who even has the size to match up with Mike. So I think that Mike Evans with a jump ball in the end zone, Mike Evans also to go over 60 yards is only minus 120. I think he definitely can have 60 yards receiving. He can have that on 2 plays. So give me Mike Evans on this game. I'm just going to go with old reliable. Mike Evans at plus 160 to get in the end zone. Mike Evans with 60 yards or more at minus 120. And we'll be praying for my boy Raheem that the Panthers figure out a way to win this division so he can cash that big check. Or are they offering you a cash out right now?
Yeah, they got a cash out. I kind of just don't want to. I don't know. When you get a ticket that big, it's such a lottery ticket. You kind of just want to
ride it out.
Yeah, you want to ride it out. And it's not like it's like I made like a giant bet because it was 18-1. You know what I mean? It's one of those things to where it's like, so I'm just kind of like I put it like a lot of times when you make those big future bets, you bet it expecting it to lose.
Right,
so it's like when you get to this point, it's like, all right, you know what I mean? Let's just ride this thing out. Either I mean, maybe
I got action.
like I got action on something that was, like I knew had a positive expected value, but at the same time, it's like you expect to lose it more times than not. I thought they mispriced it. And I mean, like even a week later, it was like plus like 5-1 or something. I mean, but you win games against the Rams and the Packers, it says something about this team.
Well, the great thing for you is that Carolina plays them twice.
Yeah.
This game and then the final game of the season. In between, Tampa Bay has a much easier game. They go to Miami, and where you got Carolina got to host Seattle. Don't get me wrong, Carolina is good at home. They can upset Seattle, and we already talked about Sam Darnold. He can lose the game by himself. So not saying it's going to be an easy win for him, but I'd much rather play Miami than play Seattle. But the great thing you got going for you is they do play each other twice. So if Carolina can win both of those games, they should win that division. All right, let's get to another game. Your Cowboys aren't out of it yet, right? For playoff contention, right? They still have an outside shot, right?
So basically, the Eagles got to lose out and the Cowboys got to win out.
Okay. I don't see that happening.
That ain't happening. I mean, the Eagles could lose this week, though. I'm not gonna lie, because the divisional matchup, like.
But they play Washington again after that, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't think they're gonna lose twice to Washington, but we'll see. It's not over. That's why they play the game, because we don't know until the game. They definitely could. They're gonna get the best out of Washington this week for sure. And it's a Saturday, a short week, so man, they definitely are a live dog. Washington are this week, I think, especially with Dan Quinn trying to set up some momentum for next year and things like that. Mariota looking good, and Mariota is playing for to get a job next year somewhere, or to get an upgrade and pay and be a higher paid backup somewhere. But we're talking about now the Chargers at the Cowboys. Cowboys are laying 2. The over and under is 49.5. The Chargers are a little beat up right now with Justin Herbert dealing with some injuries. But the great thing for them is they have their great rookie running back and playing tomorrow in Hampton. And we know that Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball anyway. That's like that's what he wants to do. So little Vidal couldn't do that for him. Now he has a running back that he can trust, and they can lean on them and hand the ball off. Chargers in a really good situation. They're 10-4. They're also coming off of beating Kansas City twice, sweeping them for the first time in probably a decade at the least, because we know that Mahomes had won the division with 8 straight years. So it had to be at least 9 years since they beat them.
It might be 15, because low-key, the Alex Smith Chiefs was balling too.
Alex Smith was beating their ass too. You're right. So the Chargers are having an exceptional regular season. They're kind of flying under the radar, at 10-4. Nobody's paying attention to them because, as you know, they're the least talked about LA team because they share the building with the Rams, and the Rams have a longer history in LA. Chargers are kind of cast offs. They're really all their fans still in San Diego. So quietly having a really good year. What I like most about the Chargers, Raheem, is their defense. People don't credit their defense enough. Those boys ball. And anytime you have good linebacker and a good safety like they do, you're going to be in every game, and you're going to give offenses problems because they have 2 guys in those positions who are really, with Henley at the linebacker and the great safety from Florida State. He's slipping my mind. You know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, he's a real difference maker. Y'all throw it up in the comments. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the all-pro safety for the Chargers. I can see his face. I just can't think of his name right now. Number 3. But he's an outstanding player.
James?
What's it? James. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, sorry. He's one of my favorite, man. I followed him in Florida State. He was the same way. He's just a difference maker. He's one of those guys who he can go chess match with the quarterback. He's smart enough to understand what offenses are trying to do, what their strengths are. He watches a lot of tapes. Derwin James is just a baller, man, and he is taking. This is the first season. I think he played most of the games last year, but he had an injury bug for a couple of years where he couldn't get on the field regularly. And this year he's on the field and really a good player, man. Kind of reminds me of my guy Honey Badger. Just a guy who's super smart, can play down in the box, can cover, can do so much, but he pushed them over the top for me. I just don't see. I guess the books are bag, and they know the people are Cowboys fans, and they're gonna bet them every time they come on the board. But I don't have a model that I run a system through. But for me and me watching and trusting my eyes, I say the Chargers are clearly a better team, and I don't see, especially how bad the Cowboys defense played last week, unless they made a miracle change. Even with Overshawn back, they didn't look good last week, man. They went back to a lot of their old habits that was going on in the past, and a lot of just bad tackling, a lot of breakdowns in the secondary. And if they're going to do that against the Chargers, this game won't be close. The Chargers will win this one pretty comfortably, in my opinion. But anytime I see a Cowboys game, I'm looking towards the over. That's almost an automatic bet for me. 49.5 looks pretty good. If the Chargers come to play and their defense means business and they can't block them up, and they're getting the Dak, then it might go under. But, man, I got to lean towards the over and the Chargers on this game. What about you, Raheem?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same direction. I think the Chargers are kind of underrated, and I think it's unfortunate because I do think this Chargers team was a legitimate Super Bowl contender before they suffered all of the offensive line injuries that they've had. Without the offensive line injuries, I think this is probably a top 5 NFL team. You spoke about the defense. The defense is, absolutely incredible. I think they're second in defensive EPA per play, but it's just the offensive line hasn't truly been able to protect Justin Herbert. So I think that's the only problem. But obviously, if you look at this Cowboys defense, like you said, they've reverted to bad habits. And then last week, Quentin Williams got hurt. So if Quentin Williams got hurt, you're not looking at the same Cowboys defense that we saw that tended to have some improvement. And they made J.J. McCarthy look like a franchise quarterback last week. So if they made him look that well, and I think, Christian Darrisaw was out on the offensive line, what is Justin Herbert going to do? So the big issue here for me is on the Cowboys offensive line. Tyler Smith got hurt on Sunday night. I'm not sure if he's going to play in this matchup, but you saw that the Vikings in that second half, they were able to generate a ton of pressure. So it's just like we know that this Chargers defense is kind of the strength of their team. So I would lean towards the Chargers here. They say every line tells a story. The Cowboys at home have been, particularly strong. But the fact that this is under a field goal really says a lot. It speaks volumes. What were the Chiefs? The Chiefs were laying 5.5 to this Chargers team last week?
Yeah.
How were the Chiefs laying 5.5 and the Cowboys are laying 2? So one of those numbers were off. And we know the Chiefs have kind of struggled all year and they've been taking money all week long. So they've been overvalued. But is it possible that the Cowboys are kind of undervalued? And I think that's the question I'm trying to ask myself, because the Cowboys—
I think it's popularity, Raheem. It's a lot of factors that go into what these books do when they're making these numbers. But one of them I always take into account is which teams do their fan base love to bet. And the Cowboys fans, you know that they love betting, man. Like those.
That's my thing, though. If they love to bet them, this line should be 3. So,
in my opinion, it should be Chargers -3 on the road. I don't think that the Cowboys should be favored against the Chargers.
Let me see
what your system saying, because we know you got $1 million system over there that you created.
Let me see what I got.
My brother is a genius. I thought I was smart. I got a 160 IQ. He probably got a 200 because he's created a model over there, man, with all types of calculus and physics. I tell my wife, I'm like, man, Raheem could sell that model for $1 million if he wanted to.
So, let me see if I can share my screen.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I don't want to share my screen.
Don't share your screen. Just tell them what it is.
Let me pull this up.
The people are asking, Raheem, what does the model say? That's got to be a segment on our show. The model, us versus the machine, the model versus 5-star. We see what your model says and see what I say off the dome.
I got all this basketball shit up, and that's why it's taking me so long. All right, so I have one model that has this game 26-25, Cowboys minus 8.7. I have another model that actually, it's so funny. It mirrors exactly what you said. I have the Chargers minus 1.8. So basically,
5-star is AI.
Yeah. And then I have another model, which is basically Chargers minus 1.6.
Yeah.
So you put that together, and basically, you pretty much got Chargers minus 1. Pick them,
let's talk it out like this, okay? You watch every Cowboys game. You're a diehard Cowboys guy, right? How do the Cowboys beat the Chargers? Now, I can think of a couple ways to victory. One, Justin Herbert plays horrible. We've seen it. He's done it in Houston before. 4 interceptions, just can't get right day for him where he's just fumbling and fumbling.
4 interceptions against this secondary.
Exactly. That's my problem. So I think he's going to be very confident. Another thing that I always think about when teams play, everyone's up for the Cowboys. No one comes in the Cowboys games. They're one of the few NFL teams that when teams see the Cowboys, they're ready to play. just because they know it's going to be a bunch of talk about it. Everyone knows the star. So I don't see Justin Herbert struggling, and you're going to always get your best. These are things that come to my system, how I look at these games. You're going to get your best out the Chargers. The Chargers are trying to make the playoffs, so they're going to play hard for Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh's the ex-Niners coach. He hates the Cowboys, so those are things I factor in. Now, how can the Cowboys win? They have to score a lot of points. We know that, and they'll have to have some luck on defense. So, with all that said, it's like, to me, a 1% chance. I'd say a 5% chance to me that the Cowboys could win this game outright. But the books have it -2. So it's two ways that you could look at it. You could look at it the way that you are and saying, what are you missing? Or you look at it as how I'm looking at it and say, they're scamming. They're putting that number out there to make certain people forget about football and try to get too smart and think about why, instead of just, we know basically the Chargers play sound football. Their defense is going to be able to stop the Cowboys a lot more times than the Cowboys should be able to stop them. And what are we playing for here? The Cowboys have an outside chance to get in the playoffs. The Chargers are playing it to actually be a part of the playoffs. So I just, me personally, man, I think that this is a game where I will bet this game, and I'll be taking the Chargers.
You know what? One thing I want to add.
No.
And I think this is very important. So the Eagles just went to 7, right?
Yeah.
The Eagles win this game, the Cowboys are eliminated. Now, obviously, you don't really want to. It's hard to, to discern motivation. But if the Eagles win this game, they're going to be eliminated, and this line's going to come down. So you could find yourself doing a correlated parlay with the Eagles money line and the Chargers money line.
Nice.
Because, the Eagles win that game, the Cowboys are eliminated. Maybe, Quinn Williams says, you know what? We eliminated. Why the fuck am I playing this game? Maybe a guy says, you know what? We eliminated. We know George Pickens is a guy who he kind of struggles with motivational issues despite how good he is. Maybe he says, you know what? We eliminated. I'm not going to die for that extra ball. So the Eagles win this game. I guarantee you this line's probably going to be Cowboys -1 or pick them by game time.
Right.
So you can kind of do a correlated parlay there. But also, I don't see the Cowboys winning with margin. So obviously teasers are, tough with, getting -120, -125 now. I think the Chargers are in a good teaser spot. I think you could tease that up from, +2 to +8. You get through that key number of 6 and 7. And I think that's a good teaser leg.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know the books are extra sharp, man. And I know sometimes that they could trick you, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Herbert is one of those guys who still believes. You know what I mean by that, Raheem? Like, he's just out there playing football. He hasn't gotten to the politics of it yet. So I never think that they're going to get to him like some guys, like we know, for instance, Mahomes, Brady, and those guys, the Hollywood quarterbacks. You could tell sometimes that, it's some other influences involved. I don't feel like Herbert's one of those guys yet. I feel like he's just really believing in everything. Good old country Oregon kid, and I want to get out there and play football. Mm-hmm. And that Jim Harbaugh, he's thinking about winning. That's it. This is a great angle. I hope so. I got him on my fantasy. I'm in the championship round before the Super Bowl in my fantasy league. I hope that Dicker, the kicker, can go over 1.5. He's my kicker, man. So we'll see. But it's an official play for 5-star in Vegas, man. Right now, it's +115. Give me the Chargers, man. I think the Chargers are going to win this game pretty comfortably. The Cowboys are one of those teams that they have a good quarterback in Dak, great receiver in CeeDee Lamb. I would not be surprised if CeeDee scores +135. That's probably a good pick. It's going to be where they're trying to score points to get back in the game, I assume, because I don't see their defense really slowing down the Chargers, whatever the Chargers want to do, as long as Hampton is playing. But so I do lean CD to score anytime touchdown at +135. But George Pickens, man, is not going to – George Pickens is on one. And when he gets on one, you can't trust him.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I agree with that.
All right, huge game in the AFC, man. They're in our division, so I can't stand the Jacksonville Jaguars because I'm a Houston Texans fan. But I do love Liam Cohen, man. You salute to Liam Cohen.
Mm.
Great coach, man. He was a great coach with Tampa Bay. Was the offensive coordinator, decides to venture out on his own. Unbelievable job he's done over there with Trevor Lawrence, getting Trevor Lawrence to perform better. Just because where they're at, no one talks about Duval. You know, they're one of those niche markets, kind of like we talked about with the Chargers and even my Texans and the Saints. It's just like the fans there, Carolina, they're not a national brand. The Jags aren't. The Texans are becoming more so ever since J.J. Watt and stuff, because he's a big guy, you know, with the fans and stuff. But I'd say for sure that Jags are a niche market. They're fans of their fans. It's only be a couple of those guys from North Florida who really follow them and keep up with that team. But man, they're quietly a really, really good team, and they made a great move going to get the receiver. Used to be with the Patriots and came from the Raiders, and they extend them.
Myers.
Yeah, Jacoby. Yeah,
so funny. I compared them to, like, I mean, people call me crazy. I compared them to Jesus Christ the other day on our show. And
I can't wait to hear what you said that. One second. When I swing it to you, please tell me that. So they got Jesus Christ, aka Jacoby Myers. So they gave him an extension for 4 years. No, 3 years, I think, extension. As soon as he gets over there, looks like a completely different guy. And he was with the Raiders, motivated to play now, has a real opportunity to do some damage in the playoffs. And then we got the Broncos coming off an impressive showing by Bo Nix. Broncos, another one, quietly getting it done every week. The great Sean Payton, who saved my Saints franchise and turned them to real contenders, got tired of living in New Orleans because it wasn't the Saints. He just didn't want to live in New Orleans anymore, and I can't blame him. Moved out to a beautiful part of the world out here in Denver, setting up shop, bringing the Broncos back to being relevant again. Has his young quarterback, Bo Nix. He's helped him so much, man. Bo Nix sucked at Auburn, man. He looked like a completely different guy. I don't like their running game with the Broncos. I'll swing it to you first so we can hear why you called Jacoby.
So, I mean, not to be blasphemous or anything like that, but you know how, like, in the history books, they say before Christ, after the death?
Right.
So, if you look at before Jacoby Myers,
okay,
the Jaguars were 21st in EPA per play, 21st in success rate, 24th in dropback EPA per play, and 28th in dropback success rate. After Jacoby Myers, 6th in dropback EPA per play, 3rd in dropback success rate, and they're averaging over 32.5 points per game.
Okay.
It's just
so what we're going to do is say this then. We're going to say JM, life after JM. So JM.
Yeah, like even Trevor Lawrence, who, you know, I mean, he was one of the best prospects in, you know, coming out of the college football. He's a guy who's largely kind of been a disappointment. You're starting to see him put it together since Jacoby Myers got traded. Now, obviously, some of that might have been a competition, but ultimately, they're playing good football. This is the NFL, and they're rolling. So I think the Jacoby Myers trade it's worked benefits because now you got Brian Thomas, who was really slated as a number one. He's not a number one. You saw how many passes he dropped. Now they don't have to just rely on him so much, and they can kind of spread it around and open things up. So I think it's turned this Jaguars offense around drastically.
Do you have a play on this one?
I'm honestly leaning the Jaguars here with the +3. I think the Denver Broncos, they keep finding themselves in these one-score games, and at some point in time, it has to bite them. Like I truly believe it, and I think this is a game where I think even if the Jaguars don't win, they can cover 3. And I think the Broncos defense is a tad bit overrated. Like this is another one I feel like maybe the over-under is a little bit short because you look at how the Jaguars are scoring. And I also think this Broncos team could probably find their way into the end zone against this Jaguars team who, like you look at earlier on in the year, they forced a lot of turnovers. And as soon as they stopped forcing turnovers, you saw that, you know, the defense really wasn't that good. Like look at what Davis Mills did against that Jaguars team.
Yeah.
So, you know, this Broncos offense, they do tend to generate a lot of explosives. So I think the total might be a little short.
So you like the total on it?
Yeah.
Jags are on an 11-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. The Broncos are on an 11-game winning streak. Pardon me. The Jags on a 5-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos 12-2. They got the home field advantage in their hands as long as they continue to do what they've been doing all year, and that's figure out ways to win football games. I hate that the Texans gave them that game away after CJ got hurt, man. But they did, and now I cannot hear enough from the Broncos fan base saying that their defense is better than ours. But we're going to
not better. It's not better at all.
It's not. It's not at all.
I mean, it's unfortunate though because I mean, y'all starting to lose some guys. Mario Edwards is out for the season. Y'all starting a little bit of depth, and I'm starting to wonder how that's going to impact y'all.
As long as we got Will Anderson, Daniel Hunter on the outside, we got Bullock in the back stalking, and we got Sting on the corner. I think they'll be okay, man. Laster on the corner, they'll be okay. Linebacker is what I worry about with us, and it's crazy because D'Amico is one of the best linebackers ever, and he's the head coach in the DC, and that's like our weakness on the team. A couple of games that we lost this year was strictly on the linebackers, including that game against Tampa Bay and the game against Broncos when Tuato was unable to get down the quarterback when D'Amico had called great defensive play, and they weren't able to execute. We need the Jags to lose, so I need them to lose. But I think, as you said, they lose within the number. I think this is going to be a really tough game. I think this is going to be a tight game. Broncos are coming off of a really emotional win against the Packers because they were dogs in that game at home, put up a lot of points. And I look at Bo Nix a lot like I look at Sam Darnold, where he's a good player when coached right, has a lot of tools, but he has some lapses, lapses of judgment where he'll give the ball away. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is a really athletic guy. He's playing really confident right now. And I think that he'll be able to make some plays when that pocket collapse, either with his legs or even scrambling about time to make a pass down the field. Also, I think that the Jags defense is a little underrated. And with all the hoopla about the Broncos defense, I think they're going to come in to play. I think we see the best version of the Jags offense in this one. Liam Cohen is really smart, man. He's really, really, really smart. And I think that Liam Cohen is going to look at this as a challenge. Like, okay, I'm going against the best defense in the league. We're trying to hold on to the lead in the AFC South. We need this one. He's going to pull out the fireworks. He's probably been in there all night right now, still in there drawing up plays, looking at film, trying to figure out the weaknesses in the Broncos defense. And if any OC can come up with him, it's Liam Cohen. He's a really smart guy, man. So with that said, we're on the same side on this one. It's a sharp play. It's going to be a pros versus Joes game on this one, and the books know it. That's why they set that line exactly where they set it at, because most people are going to see Jaguars on the road, Broncos coming off winning the Packers. Oh, they only land 3.5. That's less than a touchdown. They'll cover that with that defense. And we're on the other side. We're saying that, the Broncos are a little bit overrated, and also they're due after all of these close one-score games that they've won to finally have a game that bites them, as you said. So we'll go with life after. We'll go with life after Jacoby and pick Jaguars together, man. We both on the Jags on this one at +3.5. All right, let's wrap it with the Sunday night game, big one. Patriots coming off a loss at home that they had full control over. And we never got a chance to talk about this on air. Remember, I like the Patriots more than the Bills. You were on the Bills. You were a Bills guy. I was a Patriots guy. Patriots still can win the division, still have control of the division if they went out. Bills with a great job coming out of the locker room. You have to keep scoring when you're going against Josh Allen, man. And the Patriots did not keep scoring. Sean McDermott remembered that he was a defensive coordinator. So we finally get a defensive showing from the Bills on defense. They've not been playing really good. Is Ed Oliver back this game or for the playoffs?
I don't know.
He's big for them. Houston boy out of North Shore. He's like the energy of that defense when they're playing right.
He's done for the year.
No, they're saying he's going to come back for the playoffs.
Really? 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
they had him on he had surgery for a torn biceps.
Well, as a Texas fan, I hope he doesn't come back. But they were saying he might come back. But the Bills are not to be trusted to me on defense. That's why I worried about them. But the Patriots, they have some holes too, and we'll see if Baltimore is able to take advantage of it. Has Lamar got right? See him with a good win last week, but they didn't get a lot of pushback, Raheem, from the Bengals. It seemed like Joe Shiesty mailed it in. Like he didn't come to play, didn't care to play, didn't want to be out there. I'm in my semifinals for the Fantasy Football League to go to the Super Bowl. I got Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud, and Caleb Williams. I'm playing C.J. I could not play Burrow. Last week, I'm lucky I won in the division round because he only scored 8 points for me. It was pathetic. And I had CJ on the bench with 30 points, Caleb on the bench with 30 points. This week, Joe Burrow will not get me. I will not be surprised if Miami doesn't win that game outright because he's mailed it all the way in. So I don't know if we can use that as a true barometer for the Ravens and if the Ravens are playing good football again or not, because the Bengals didn't care to play at all. Ravens are trying to keep up with the Steelers. We see Mike Tomlin, as I spoke about earlier, gets it done again, 23-0, Hall of Fame coach, man. 23-0 is ridiculous on Monday Night Football at home. So Aaron Rodgers, I sent you the tweet. I tweeted it last year when we was speculating on whether he would sign with the Steelers, that this was a perfect time for the Steelers to get Aaron Rodgers because he was a year off the injury and he had not forgotten how to play. He just was still dealing with recovery from ACL. If you dealt with a lot of athletes like I have, you know that it takes them a full year to get back to feeling like themselves. Even when they're back playing, they're still not trusting their legs yet. Aaron Rodgers is back looking like discount double Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers. So the Ravens have to win this game. What do you think about this one, Raheem? Have you done any homework on it?
So our guy, he says, it's Ant 30, Ant 33.
Yeah.
Is that the Patriots injury report looks like the CBS receipt.
That's my guy, Ant.
Right. I mean, you look at the fact that they're already playing without Milton Williams. And without Milton Williams, that team can't stop the run. But now you got Robert Spillane, you got linebacker Christian Ellis, you got cornerback Carlton Davis, you got Marcus Jones and Harold Landry all banged up. They were all on the injury report. I'm not sure if they're going to play or not, but the Milton Williams injury is really problematic against a Ravens team with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, obviously, this is not a guy who is running in the same manner that he used to, but he's still, I mean, like you saw him a couple times last week and even the week before, he'll run in certain spots. He won't run every time, but he'll run in certain spots. But you still got to deal with Derrick Henry. And the biggest thing is that you look at this Patriots team. I know they won 10 games in a row, but you win 10 games in a row and look at the quarterbacks that they face. I mean, you're talking about Geno Smith, Tua, Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young. You're talking about Spencer Rattler. You're talking about Cam Ward. You're talking about Dylan Gabriel. You're talking about Michael Penix. You're talking about an injured Baker Mayfield. And then you're talking about who did they play? Jets quarterback. One of the quarterbacks for the Jets.
Oh, Justin Fields. Well, not Justin Fields. It was the young boy Brady that played at Missouri. I know you're talking about though. Brady. I think it's Brady. What's Brady's last name? I just know his first name is Brady. I know you're talking about though.
Yeah, and then they didn't even play Joe Burrow. They played Joe Flacco. So the only good quarterback, like the only legit good quarterback they played all season long. Oh yeah,
Brady Cook.
Yeah. They also played Jackson Dart. So the only legitimate good quarterback they played all year long was Josh Allen. And in that first game against Josh Allen, we watched it together in the win.
Yeah.
The Bills had 2 turnovers inside of the Patriots' 10-yard line and another turnover. So ultimately, and it took 3 turnovers for them to win by 3. So I feel like Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense is such a huge step up. And you look at the fact that the Patriots defense is just so banged up. Everybody's in the hospital. This is Ravens or pass. Like I think, and the Ravens need this game. Yeah. I think this is where, and then the biggest thing here is that the Patriots don't need this game to win a division. They can lose this game and they still have the Jets and the Dolphins. So to me, I think you play the Ravens here. You lay the 2.5. Maybe the Ravens just aren't good this year, and that's very possible. But at some point in time, I think you take a stand here, knowing that the Ravens need this game, that the Patriots really don't, and there can be a little bit of a letdown effect, from losing last week's game where you're up 21-0. Then the following week, everybody kind of expects you to bounce back, but this Ravens team is still power rated ahead of the Patriots in terms of priors. I think that's the reason why this line is what it is. It's telling you got a fucking 10-3 team, or 11-3 team catching points to a 7-7 team.
Yeah,
it's telling you.
Yeah. When the line looks funny, it's probably money, man. Lamar Jackson is money on prime time. He's 15-4. Throughout his career in primetime games, impressive 34 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. I think that the Ravens will be highly motivated, and the line is telling you what to do. We're saying go with the Baltimore Ravens. Me and my brother Raheem are both on the same side on that one. We're a little long today, hour 30 minutes, but hey, man, we're talking a lot of good ball. Me and Raheem could be on here all day, bro, because we enjoy just talking sports with you guys. We love chopping it up with you guys in the wagering world. Without further ado, as my boys say, whether sunny or gray, it's time to get to, you already know, the Ball and Parlay. Rest in peace, my homie, Pokey. All right, man, what's your favorite play for the weekend, Raheem? Give it to the people right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go to basketball tonight. I got 2 plays. I'm going to go with Chicago Bulls +7, +7.5. I normally wouldn't play this because these 2 teams played the other day, but Donovan Mitchell is questionable for this matchup with an illness. And if you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are like really, really struggling right now. This is not, they continue to underperform in the market. If you look at, how they're doing market-wise, this team is 8-20 against the spread, worst amongst NBA teams. And, Cleaning the Glass has a metric called spread differential, which is a team's average point differential relative to their Vegas spread. They are 29th amongst NBA teams. The only team worse than them is the Los Angeles Clippers, and we know they stink. So Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last 2 weeks. They're 21st in offensive rating, 112 points per 100 possessions. If Donovan Mitchell isn't playing, this number is going to drop swiftly. And we know, like, the biggest thing with this Cleveland Cavaliers team is they struggle throughout games, and then Donovan Mitchell has to pull a rabbit out of a hat for them to win. So I think you take the 7 or the 7.5 now. Maybe Donovan Mitchell doesn't play and this line, drops down. Maybe he does play and they still cook him. So I think, a lot of times when teams play the other day, I like to kind of zigzag. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers you just can't zigzag with this team right now. And then the other one I really like, I like the New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers over 229. The biggest thing here is that the Knicks have played a lot of basketball these last couple of days. Obviously, they win the NBA Cup. Now you're on a back-to-back against the Sixers team, which really doesn't defend that well. They tend to push the pace. I think this total is a little bit too low. If I look at my model, where do I have this at? I think this should probably be in the 230, 235 range. It's at 229. So I'm going to take a shot on this. Open 229. It really hasn't done too much movement. So I'm kind of taking a stand against the market. I think FanDuel actually has 230.5. So I look for 229.5, 229. I think you're in good position.
Okay, so you got 2 basketball plays from my guy, Raheem. He's an NBA expert. I'm a college football expert. So right now I'm in absolute heaven. So as we see now, I think it's 24-0 on the NC State game. So that one is looking like it's pure money for us, man. And you guys know that if you tune in every day, make sure that you put on your notifications. If you haven't signed up with the channel, make sure that you start following the wagering world. I'll be doing a video. I'm not going straight to X with it. I'm going to do a short video every day. We're on day 3, so we have 9 more days of free college football winners. I'll give out 1 a day. All right, man. In college football tonight, we got a big one. I already told you guys I like Alabama first half. Not for the game, but I do like Alabama to get it done for the first half against OU. I think that Caleb DeBoer will come out with a super solid plan, and they'll be able to go into the locker room with a slight lead, couple big plays in the passing game early, but I won't be surprised if later on in that game you have Oklahoma crawl back. I also like Tulane plus 17.5. Jake Retzliff, who's the quarterback for Tulane, kid that came over from BYU, didn't play well the first time that they were in where's Ole Miss? Oxford, Mississippi. They got blew out, bad showing, but he had only been in camp for 6 weeks, I want to say, before that season had started. It was an early season game that they played against Mississippi. Mississippi has been in the headlines, as you know. Lane Kiffin, they don't allow him to coach this team and stay with them. Instead, they run him off and tell him no, but they allow his assistant, Charlie Weiss, Jr., to remain as the OC. And then they move Pete Golden, who's the defensive coordinator, up to head coach. Weird to me because the team that they're facing allowed their coach to coach. John Summerall is going to coach this game for Tulane. He's going to be the Florida coach next year, but they allowed him to see it through. Going into the college football playoffs as your first time as a head coach ever is something that I'm not going to lay 17.5 points with. The weakest unit on Ole Miss's team was the defense. So why would I trust their defensive coordinator now to run things and be the head coach? I'm also not a big fan of DCs as head coaches. I don't really like defensive coordinators as head coach. You got different guys who sometimes still do a great job. Mike Tomlin's considered a defensive coordinator that's a head coach, but he knows all sides of the ball. He was a former wide receiver. He coached on the offensive side of the ball first before he moved to defense at Minnesota, and he only did that because Tony Dungy wanted to teach him how to coach both sides of the ball. So most defensive coordinators they're too careful. They don't take a lot of chances. I don't really like backing them. So I'm gonna go with Tulane plus 17.5. I think that they're going to be extremely motivated with being embarrassed early in the year. I think they have a big time quarterback who's good enough to play with Ole Miss and Retzliff. And I also think that it's going to be some fallback with this Ole Miss offense. I mean, how can it not be? Lane Kiffin was micromanaging this offense. He's calling everything down to the protections pre-snap. Like he's in the headphone of Trinidad Chambliss all the way until the snap, showing cards, telling him what to do. Really was over this. It was his baby. So now you want to duplicate what Lane created in one game. I don't see that being something I'm going to lay points with. I know the Ole Miss is much more talented. Trinidad Chambliss, I don't know if they gave him his extra year of eligibility that he applied for. He was at Ferris State and was the Heisman Trophy winner for Division III football. Ends up coming to Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin takes a liking to him, names him the starting quarterback. Well, initially, the starting quarterback was Kendall Austin, I want to say. I can't remember his name. Kendall Austin, I believe. Good kid. He could play, though. And he was a really good quarterback, left-handed kid that had put up some great tape and backup duty for Jackson Dart last year. Simmons, I'm sorry. That's his name, Austin Simmons. He had put up great tape for Ole Miss, and he was big coming out of high school, man. But Chambliss ends up taking his position. I think that Chambliss is more loyal to Lane Kiffin than he is to Ole Miss. So I would not be surprised if Trinidad Chambliss is at LSU next year. He already has this little cute commercial that's showing with him saying he's transferring to AT&T wearing the Ole Miss jersey. So I think his mind is kind of already thinking about dollar signs, and you coming from Division III Ferris State, not making any money, and now you're getting money. So, this is a big opportunity for him. I don't know how locked in he is, and also Ole Miss has to be a little overconfident after beating the hell out of Tulane earlier this year. So with all that said, give me Tulane plus 17.5. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide first half money line. You guys make sure that you tune in tomorrow to the channel so you can get the play for the 4th day of Christmas. We got 12 days. We're right now 2-1. Let's keep it rolling. Tell them where to find you at, Raheem.
Before we go, we got some people asking about the boxing match, and then
yeah. I meant to tell you that too. You're right. There you go, right there.
So before the boxing match, so Nick says, Ant says the Knicks got to be tired. This would be the third game in 4 nights. My logic here is that a lot of times when you have these teams playing the third game in 4 nights back to back, my philosophy is that generally the defense gets worse. I look at it from the perspective of, all right, the defense is going to get worse. These teams are not going to, they're going to be late on every rotation, and they're not going to be necessarily chasing these shooters around. And if the Sixers play a fast-paced game, I think this can be an up and down the court thing. Now, some people will see that in the opposite direction and say, all right, this team is tired. They're going to miss shots. But I'm looking at it from a defensive perspective that maybe these teams are just tired and the defense gets worse. So that's why I like the over in that matchup. I'm generally more of a totals guy than a sides guy. You look at this and say maybe play the Sixers, but I'm not really too fond of their bigs, and the Sixers aren't really the best at defending even when healthy. There's no Joel Embiid out there, so I'm hoping for a lot of points in that game. As far as Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, look, if Anthony Joshua takes this fight seriously, you're talking about a first-round knockout, a murder. Like, there's no reason why, Anthony Joshua should
stop. No, he's not. It's fixed,
and that's the thing. I actually think this fight is rigged. Like, I don't believe that this is a legitimate fight. So I'm not going to handicap it, like I said, like a legitimate fight. I got all of the smart boxing analysts, the guys who cover boxing, they're calling this Negreanu Part 2, where, AJ murdered Negreanu. But I just don't think this is that. I think obviously Jake Paul is the promoter. Why would he execute his own funeral? That's not making sense to me. So I'm completely staying off this fight. If you had to ask me to make a prediction, I think Anthony Joshua carries them through this fight. And Jake Paul says, I lasted 8 rounds with Anthony Joshua. And that's the thing to keep the charade going. I'm not betting on this bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit, man. I'm so glad Tank got it together. Guys, we appreciate you for tuning in. I got to get the hell off of here before my wife kills me. I have to pack. We got a staycation. It's Ian's birthday, so you guys send a happy birthday out to my man, Ian. You guys know Ian loves the Houston Rockets. He loves the wagering world. That's my baby there, man. He's 12 years old on Monday, so we're going to go down and make sure that we have a great staycation on the Strip with him and a good time. But I have to get to my 5-year-old's Christmas program in an hour, and I haven't packed, guys. So let me get up out of here. As always, I dedicate this show to the greatest Houston sports fan I know, and that's my father, John H. Lindsay. For my boy Raheem Palmer, that you can find. Which day is it again on the Ringer?
Monday, Thursday, and Sunday on FanDuel Sports Network and the Ringer Gambling Show. It's on YouTube. If you're in the area that doesn't have FanDuel Sports Network, if you are, you just cut on your TV and you'll see us. So thank you. I appreciate you guys.
We'll have Raheem back in here soon. You know that, man. He's a friend of the show, a friend of mine. Guys, we appreciate you. It's always us versus the machine. You guys go to www.thewageringworld.com if you're interested in reaching out to me for a bowl package, or you can support the show by buying some high-quality merchandise. And we'll see you guys next week.